Acts 28:22. But we desire to hear of thee what thou thinkest, for as concerning this sect, we know that everywhere it is spoken against. So the big message here is that you can't be judging Christianity by what you hear about it from other people, because everywhere you go, there are going to be people who have negative opinions about Christianity. And significantly, a lot of the time, that's going to be based on false versions of Christianity. Obviously, there were false gospels during the time of Paul, so it's quite likely that this person who heard this negative report about Christianity, that person might not have even been an actual Christian. But it's also true that there are some people who have negative opinions about Christianity, even based on an actual encounter with the gospel. Of course, lots of people do reject the true gospel. That's why there are so many false versions of Christianity. So that's why it's so valuable that this guy, even though he says, hey, look, everything we've heard about this has been bad, he still wants to know what it is that Paul has to say about this matter. And in that context, actually, this is quite a valuable thing to do. If you've heard something bad about any religious point of view, and if you're a Christian who's investigating other religions, this is something to bear in mind. Take the bad things you've heard about it and ask someone who actually belongs to that faith, especially if it's someone you think you can trust as knowing what they're talking about, and say, hey, here's what I heard. What is your response to this thing? Now, obviously, you don't want to be pacified by some answer that doesn't really address your questions, and someone who's very manipulative can be quite good at making it sound like they've addressed the issue when they haven't. But if there's something you're constantly hearing as a criticism of a certain point of view, it's definitely worth asking someone who belongs to that point of view and hearing what they have to say. And of course, with Christianity, you can actually pick up the Bible and read it yourself, although it could be difficult to do that without your mind being clouded by all of the presuppositions you have about Christianity from what you've heard from other people. Like, if you've only heard negative things about Christianity and then you read the Bible, it's possible you will only see negative things, and that's why it's probably quite valuable to listen to someone who doesn't have a negative opinion of Christianity and hear how they're approaching it differently from you. But yeah, the big takeaway here is to not be swayed when everywhere you go, you hear something negative said about Christianity, because that's not what determines whether or not it's true.